Hey YouTube, it's Taki with Taki Tech. Okay, so in this part of the project here, I'm going to finally get over to the VBA portion that I've been kind of waiting to. I'm going to kind of make this a little bit more dynamic here. We're going to have a list that's a little bit more easier to make than this don't using the fill handle. Or it'll give us a chance to use VBA a little bit more here. So the way to get in, the way to open your VBA editor is you could hit the control and I think it's F11 key. Oh, that gave me a micro. Okay, well, I don't really use this too much. You just do, let's see here. So I usually just do view code and that opens up the VBA editor for me. Or what we'll do here is look on the internet and it says Alt F11. So had the control in the Alt confused here, Alt F11. And that of course was the Excel website, just to give them some credit there, because I don't use it that much. I forgot. I knew it was there, just forgot it. So whatever works for you, I just out of habit right click on the tab and open up the VBA editor. Okay, so what I want to do here is I'm just going to do a message and an input box as our very first experience, or kind of what I'm doing today in VBA. The reason why I'm doing that is when I was designing or thinking about the design of this project, I initially was going to use an input box that was going to ask how many male names do you want, and then how many female names do you want. And I was like, well, that's too much. Well, let's just do how many names do you want, and then let it randomize that. Then I thought, well, it'll just be easier for me just to make kind of a dashboard right there on the spreadsheet itself. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the dashboard, but I won't have a chance to do the input boxes, and I don't know when we're going to get back to the input boxes. So let's just take the opportunity to do that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on VBA project and scroll down to insert and then choose module, and I'm just going to name this module boxes, or yeah, that'll work. And where you name it is you have to go down to properties right here in this name part and boxes. Okay, cool. Now I'm inside the module. First thing that I like to do is always like to type in option explicit, and I don't know how to spell it. Alright, there we go. Basically what this is saying is that every variable that I declare or that I use when I write this project needs to be defined. And that's important because if you don't define the variable, if I just say I equals 9, instead of getting a integer, I'm going to get a variant. And a variant takes up more memory than the integer. Now, it really doesn't probably make that much difference with the scope of the projects or the size of the projects that we're designing and the power of the computers that we're using today. But it's not good habit, and it could make a difference. If you use too many variants, it could just slow things down a little bit, or make your computer not be able to compute as fast, or do something and make the whole thing crash. So that's why I like to use option explicit. And then usually you have like a subroutine. So I'm just going to say private. So private just means that if I made another module, let's say I made a module called circles, that it will not be able to access the subroutine within the module boxes. And if I put public on it, then circles might be able to access that, or would be able to access that. So we're just going to call this private message, and we're not going to be passing in any information, and that should be it. Okay, and I forgot to put sub. Okay. So in VBA, you have subs and functions. Subroutines are just basically a set of instructions, and functions are a set of instructions that return a value. This part right here, you could pass in different data to this function through this area right here. and my mind is blanking out on what it is exactly called. Okay, so first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to dim, which stands for dimension, which I don't know if that really matters, if you know what that means or not. And we're just going to call this returned input. So let's make it, we'll make it an integer. All right. So so I have returned input as an integer, and I guess at some point I will talk about the different data types within Excel, and the ones that you commonly use and ones that you don't use that often. All right, so returned input, and because I'm so bad at spelling, I like to use Camel Case, and basically what that means is that you capitalize the first letter in each word. However, just out of coding principles, usually when you have an integer or you have a variable, you start the variable with a lowercase letter, and then every other word in the name of that variable is capitalized. And let's see if I got this right. Let's do the first one here is an input box, and then if I just hit the open part of it, it will tell me exactly what I need. So when I said open part, I kind of meant the bracket here. It's right over the 9, and the prompt is what it's going to ask us. Enter a number, and then the title is going to be the title of it. So, and then I have to put these in quotations because they're all strings. This is an input box. And then there's a couple of other things here, and you could take a look on the internet to find out what the default parameter you could pass in is, and the X position and Y position, which would show you could tell it what part of the screen, like if you wanted it right here in the middle of the screen, help file, and context, what these all mean. So, but I'm good enough. This is good enough. So if I come out of this, I see I got my capital I, so I spelled that right. That's why I don't like long named variables. And the input box looks okay. So now I don't know how to do this outside of a shortcut, but basically you hit F8 and you run your program. So F8, all right, and here we go. It's going to come up with, when I hit F8 again, it's going to come up with the input box. Enter a number. Okay, so I hit 8, enter, and we can see that this variable is an integer and it's holding the number 8. What happens if I do an S? I don't know. Let's find out. So I'm going to hit F8 again, and I'm going to put S in here. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh, I get an error. I should have known that. So it says type mismatch. Basically, because I was expecting this is a integer variable type, it's not going to allow me to take a character like S and put that inside of space in memory that's basically a variable. So I'll hit end on that. That ends my program. And I'm thinking I'm going to cut this one short here. We're done with input box, and the next one will just be plain Jane message box, and maybe we'll do a little bit of an error correction on this for the next video. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have anything you'd like to add, make sure you leave it in the comments. And if you like the content on this channel, please subscribe. And you have a good one, and make sure you take it easy.